All right, today on the show, we have Caroline Adams Miller, an author of the book Big Goals. Caroline, how are you?
I'm cold, but I love talking about big goals, and I was so excited that you invited me to be on.
Absolutely. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for joining me on the show today. N-
You're welcome.
Now, there are no goals too big to set, right?
Now, that's a
Oh,
question I've never been asked. I think there are goals that might be too big to be set.
mhm.
However, we should set big goals because they are the game-changing goals in our lives.
I always thought everything was obtainable if you put your mind to it. Huh, perhaps, right?
Gosh,
I-
you are stumping me. I think that there's some truth to that. I am completely evidence-based. Everything I write about is science. I come from psychology and the field of academia. And you have to have a mindset that you can do the things that you are pursuing. It's called self-efficacy. So you do need to believe in your efforts, and you do need to set goals that you can actually pursue. And in the pursuit of those big goals, you often get so much further than you would otherwise. And there's a lot to say about that.
So, where should we start? Should we start small and work our way up?
No,
What,
let's start big. Oh, you
start
mean for
big?
goals? Okay.
For goals,
So
yeah.
the reason I wrote the book is because too many people do set goals, but they do it thinking SMART goals or law of attraction or other kinds of, zombie approaches that are still walking among us, even though they're really dead. These are not scientific. I wrote the book so that people would have access to the fact that there's a scientific way to set and pursue goals. So if you just start there, I think we really will do the greatest service to your audience. And that's, if you want me to just dive right into what is that science, I'll tell you.
Yes, let's just jump right into it. What are the key steps to setting a big goal?
Well, the first thing you have to do is understand, is this a goal I've done before? Have I, if I could I write the steps down to accomplish this goal like a recipe or a checklist, like a surgeon scrubbing in for surgery or a pilot pre-flight check-in. Those are called performance goals in goal setting theory. Performance can mean a lot of things to different people, so I call them checklist goals. It's really important that you divide them into that and then into learning goals. And so learning goals are things you've never done before. You have to give yourself the grace and time to learn the skills, the knowledge, find mentors to actually learn how to do it. Once you know how to do it, it fits onto a checklist. And that's the only time you can set a definite date and a definite, outcome that you're seeking, hopefully excellence, because we have found science says the best outcomes always come from challenging and specific, meaning outside of your comfort zone. So you start right there, goal setting theory.
Right. Now, what about motivation? A lot of people say, you know what, they get started on their goal and they kind of get discouraged. How do people stay motivated working towards their goal?
Well, one of the most important things is to check who believes in you, who's around you, who's taking up oxygen in your space, whose emails do you open, which conversations do you have on the phone with people who give you passive aggressive kind of reactions when you talk about, this is my big goal, this is what I'm excited about. So too often what we have are people who are not what's called active constructive responders, curious and enthusiastic. So the number one way to derail yourself from goal pursuit and goal accomplishment is surrounding yourself with people who don't believe in you and who don't necessarily want you to succeed. And women are more at risk than men are because of all kinds of social dynamics. So it's really important that you start there. Motivation happens when you wake up every day knowing that this is a goal you set for yourself and that you have created an environment, or you're going to create an environment with as much success as possible that supports your goals, where you have the resources to pursue those goals, where you have the people who believe in you, and you have the grit.
Right.
Grit is something we can all cultivate. So when you have big goals, it's not resilience, it's grit that you need.
You know what? That is so true. Uh, Oftentimes, a lot of times, if not all the time, when you start getting closer to that goal, people start dropping off along the way, don't they? It's
Yeah.
almost like they don't want to see you succeed. Now, that's not in all cases. I don't want people to watch this and say, well, that's not true. But people do tend to, I don't know what it is, jealousy or what the case may be, but you lose folks along the way on your journey to success. What are some
Yeah.
common obstacles people face when they
So
pursue?
of the most common obstacles are not knowing or thinking about the obstacles that are in front of you. So the ancient Stoics talked about premeditatio malorum, or premeditate the evils on the path to your goal. Don't just dive right into it. You have to do something called mental contrasting, where you imagine the best possible outcome, and then you come back to the present and you identify, well, where will I need extra support? Where do I have to create a mindset that's going to help me go a little bit harder and further than I usually do? And so that's a piece of what you do. So you have to premeditate the obstacles. You have to look at the relationships around you. You have to identify, what are the investments I have to make in myself to accomplish this goal. Then you've got to look at your decision making. I mean, a lot of people don't even know how they make their best decisions, or whether or not they have confirmation or noise in their decision-making process. You have to take a look at that. You have to have grit, and then you have to identify what's the excellence I'm seeking, and you have to measure that pursuit. So it has to be specific. And so many people fail because they set general goals because they don't want to disappoint themselves.
How can we decipher though what's for us and what's not? I mean, and I guess, like I said, that's a part of success. Failing and makes you who you are. But how can we decipher? How can we tell what's the white noise and
Yeah.
what we're supposed to be doing?
Well, I think everybody has a still small voice within them that whispers at them, boy, I wonder what life would be like if I dared to go in that direction. I wonder
Mm,
what it would be like if I took more risks without knowing the outcome. We are awed by people who go for it. And that's what is so interesting, is when you observe people who have good grit, who are pursuing big goals, they do make you ask yourself these questions. Wow, what if I did that? And so there's usually, when you're quiet, you can identify the things that you know you will regret not pursuing. If you're looking back on your life and you're imagining, gosh, what am I proud of and what do I regret not pursuing? Because when you look at the top 5 regrets of dying people, the number one regret is that they lived another person's life,
yeah,
not the life they were meant to live. People stop taking risks. They stop acting zestful. We can't lose that spark, because that's where we find what's called intrinsic motivation for the goals that light us up. And these are the goals that do light us up, no matter how hard they are.
right. Now we spoke about the circle you have around you. Do
Yeah.
we necessarily need people around us when we're going for what we trying to accomplish? Do we
Yeah.
need a good support system, or should we just say, you know what, I'm going to do this on my own, and then I'll just deal with them later and hang out with them later?
No, particularly big goals, you never want to pursue them alone, because there are no great inventions in history. There are no big breakthroughs that occurred with one person working in a silo. And because I got a master's degree in applied positive psychology in 2006 at the University of Pennsylvania, I learned there, and it's only been reinforced by more findings, that the way to flourish in life is to have relationships, positive relationships with other people, because they help you to flourish. Happiness precedes success, and you need to build your social resources, because you need soft places to fall when you fail, when you're discouraged. But then you also need people to cheer for you when you're, on that path. So don't go it alone. We're lonely enough as it is, according to the research. Just build the right relationships and know what it is you're looking for. And it's that curiosity and enthusiasm when you articulate a goal or a success. Because if people don't respond with curiosity and enthusiasm, the research says that they are the ones who are most likely to make you leave your goal, derail you within the next week or so.
Right. Now I want to talk about you for a minute. How did you get to this point, to where you are in your life now, and becoming the person you are today?
I nearly died from bulimia back in the
Mhm.
1980s. I was bulimic from the age of 15 to 22, back when there was no cure for it, but it was truly an epidemic running through our
Mm,
country, in sororities and schools, with girls in particular. So as a
mm,
competitive swimmer, another competitive swimmer showed me how to do it. And against all odds, I found some people who helped me get better, starting in
mm.
1984. And then I wrote the first book by anyone who survived bulimia. And that book, My Name is Caroline, came out in 1988. And that's been the springboard for me to study the science of goal setting, to understand how to have people get the tools, the evidence-based tools to help them do hard things too. Because I feel like you can't keep what you don't give away. And I was given my life back by people who showed up in a 12-step support group with nothing to gain from it other than giving me the wisdom I needed to develop humility and gratitude, but also to hold myself to the highest possible standards. So I would say my life began in 1984 because that's when I found out what I was made of.
Wow. And look at you today. I have to big shout out to you. Big shout out to you.
Yeah, I've
Now,
written a lot of books, but they all started with "My name is Caroline," which is really cool.
now, I've seen some of your books and I want to read a few of them. I haven't seen that one yet, but that one sounds like something I really want to get into and read that one. You know,
Yeah.
all of them seem pretty great. Now, back to goal settings. What are some of the common misconceptions about shooting for big goals?
So I think too many people, as I said a little earlier, have these zombie ideas about SMART goals, that somehow that is a science, this, specific, measurable, whatever. I mean, that's just the welcome mat to the world of goal setting. Get to know goal setting theory, and it's in my book, obviously, Big Goals. That's one. The second is people set vague goals because, again, they don't want to hold themselves to any high criteria because people don't like to disappoint themselves. So they set vague goals. Then they mix up goals. They mix up learning goals with performance goals. And you see the greatest business disasters and personal disasters in history are when people skip the learning phase of doing something really hard and ended up sometimes losing their lives. It's the Titan submersible, OceanGate. It's like the Ford Pinto. So those are just a few of the reasons why people fail. And then they don't have the right support system.
Well, yeah. What are some of the key takeaways you hope people, readers, will take away from this book?
I want people to understand that there is a science. Secondly, that the productivity systems that were set in this country in the 1880s mostly work for white men. They've been written by white men, taught by white men, reinforced by white men in the workplace. And one of the things I've really discovered, in particular for gender, is that women are penalized when they are ambitious and goal-directed. This is the one area where we've made no progress in 100 years. Women who are goal-directed, ambitious, and proud of what they've done pay a social penalty in the workplace and personally from both men and women. So don't just take a goal-setting kind of motivational speaker as a one-size-fits-all. Make sure that you take a look at the fact that gender and people from different cultures should not just go for the first goal-setting bit of advice they hear, particularly when you look at motivational speakers. I hate to diss white men because I'm married to one and I have two sons, but it has been stacked against us for as long as productivity systems have been embedded in the world. And if we don't take a look at that, then we're really not doing ourselves a service. We're surrounded by dude podcasts and dude walls and all kinds of things that are not making you think, I can do that too.
Wow. We're running out of time. The book is out everywhere, isn't it? Where can they find it if people want to purchase?
Everywhere. I mean, literally everywhere. And it's also out as an ebook and it's out as an audio book. So it's hardback, it's ebook, it's audio. And it's a great, great book. I feel very strongly that everyone in the world who has a dream ought to have access to the real scientific tools. And my book is the only book endorsed by the founders of goal setting theory, the #1 management theory of 73 theories. I'm the only one who's taken their science and brought it to the mass market. And people really deserve to have a dream and the ability to achieve it.
Right. Thank you so much for joining me on the show today. I encourage everybody to look at the book. I'm actually going to read it myself on Kindle Fire. And it's going to be amazing. Thank you so much once again for joining me.
I really appreciate you inviting me. Thank you.